The biting wind howled across the vast, frozen expanse of the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta. It was December of 1888, and Alaska was a land ruled by a relentless, unforgiving winter. For Ilara, a young Yupik woman, each breath was a frosty cloud, swallowed by the immensity of the stark white landscape. Her face, etched with the resilience inherited from generations who had survived these lands, was turned resolutely against the blizzard's first tendrils. Snowflakes, sharp as shattered glass, began to sting her exposed cheeks, threatening to numb them. Beside her, her husband Canoe, a man of quiet strength and unwavering loyalty, pulled at the paddle with a grim determination that mirrored her own. Their sealskin canoe, a fragile vessel against the churning grey waters of the Kuskokwim River, cut a slow, arduous path towards the distant, elusive lights of Quiguk, a small trading post rumoured to have a doctor, perhaps even a missionary with some form of Western medicine. Inside the firs, nestled at Ilara's feet, her infant daughter Anya coughed weakly, a sound that tore at Ilara's soul. The baby had been fading for days, a mysterious fever gripping her tiny body, rendering her listless and unresponsive. Traditional remedies, herbal poultices, shamanic chants, and warm compresses had all failed. The village elders, their faces creased with ancient wisdom and sorrow, had advised the arduous journey as a last, desperate hope. Hope, a flickering flame in the vast darkness of the Alaskan winter, was their only fuel. The desperate prayer clutched tighter than any physical possession. Kenai, strong and silent, knew the immense risks. The river, already forming treacherous, shifting ice flows, was unpredictable, a living entity capable of sudden, violent moods. The air temperature plummeted with alarming speed, threatening to turn exposed skin to brittle, frostbitten crystal. Suddenly, a massive ice floe, dislodged from the riverbank by the relentless, powerful current, slammed into the canoe's side with a jarring impact. The blow was brutal, sending a violent shudder through the small craft. Canoe, his knuckles white on the paddle, fought to regain control, his muscles straining as he churned frantically, trying to stabilize their precarious balance. But the river, an unforgiving adversary in its full winter might, had other, more destructive plans. Another floe, larger still and shaped like a jagged spear, hit with devastating force. The canoe lurched violently, tipping sideways with an irreversible momentum. Ilara's scream was ripped away by the wind as icy black water engulfed them. The world became a terrifying, chaotic maelstrom of freezing water, splintering wood, and the chilling roar of the blizzard. Her last conscious thought, before the cold threatened to claim her, was of Anya, clutched tightly against her chest, her own body a shield against the cruel, immediate embrace of the Alaskan winter. The current ripped them apart. Don't miss the rest of Ilara's incredible journey. Subscribe to our channel for more gripping, true-to-life stories. The frigid water was a violent shock, stealing Ilara's breath and burning her skin with an intensity that transcended mere cold. Instinct, raw and primal, surged through her. She thrashed wildly, her hands still clamped around Anya, the baby's small body a fragile, almost imperceptible warmth against her own rapidly chilling flesh. The canoe was gone, vanished, swallowed by the dark, swirling current as if it had never existed. Kenai was nowhere to be seen, lost in the chaotic maelstrom, his absence a gaping wound in her suddenly solitary existence. Panic, cold and sharp as the river ice, threatened to consume her, to paralyze her completely. But the desperate, overwhelming need to protect Anya was a stronger, more fundamental force, a burning ember in the depths of her being. She found herself clinging to a jagged, slippery chunk of ice, its surface slick and unforgiving, her fingers already numb with the profound cold. The blizzard intensified, transforming into a blinding white curtain that erased the world beyond inches from her face. The wind shrieked like a banshee of ice and snow, tearing at her waterlogged clothes, trying to pry Anya from her desperate grasp. Each wave that crashed over her threatened to pull her under, to claim them both for the icy, hungry depths. Her limbs grew heavy, sluggish, her muscles screaming in protest, already on the verge of succumbing to the cold's brutal embrace. The cold began its insidious, creeping work, numbing her senses, blurring the edges of reality until her surroundings were a formless grey. Yet she held on, a silent promise, a desperate prayer, whispered to the tiny, shivering life pressed against her. Anya whimpered, a faint, reedy, fragile sound that, paradoxically, strengthened Ilara's resolve, reminding her that surrender was not, could not be, an option. Hours blurred into an agonizing eternity. The relentless current dragged her slowly, relentlessly downriver, a helpless leaf caught in a monstrous flow. She drifted in and out of consciousness, moments of shivering lucidity punctuated by the seductive, terrifying pull of oblivion. The weight of Anya in her arms became both a crushing burden and a vital anchor, the sheer, primal will to keep her daughter alive, her only remaining strength, her only connection to the living world. The landscape was an endless, featureless expanse of white and grey, and the chilling thought that she might be the only living soul in this desolate, frozen wilderness pressed down on her, a crushing, suffocating weight that threatened to steal her last breath. Just as the last, fragile vestiges of strength threatened to abandon her, just as the darkness behind her eyelids seemed to beckon with an irresistible warmth, a faint shadow materialized through the swirling snow. At first, Ilara, her mind clouded by exhaustion and hypothermia, dismissed it as a cruel trick of her fading vision, a tantalizing mirage designed to mock her. But then a dark, irregular shape solidified, growing larger, more distinct, refusing to dissipate. It was the unmistakable edge of the riverbank, a snow-covered slope leading up to a sparse, stoic stand of stunted spruce trees. Their branches bowed under the weight of the snow. With a surge of adrenaline she didn't know she possessed, a sudden, desperate burst of energy, Ilara clawed at the ice, struggling to propel her waterlogged body towards the shore. It was an agonizing, monumental battle. Her frozen fingers, numb and clumsy, slipped repeatedly on the slick, treacherous ice, refusing to grip. Her waterlogged clothes weighed her down like leaden shackles, each movement a Herculean effort against the immense resistance of the water. Every breath was a painful rasp in her constricted, burning chest. The current, as if sensing her escape, fought against her, trying to drag her back into its icy, suffocating embrace, pulling her back towards the vast, featureless expanse of the river. But the sight of solid ground, the almost unimaginable promise of escape from the river's merciless grip, spurred her on. Inch by agonizing inch, she pulled herself forward, driven by the desperate burning hope that warmth and perhaps even safety lay just beyond the cruel reach of the freezing water. Finally, with a last desperate heave, a guttural cry escaping her lips, she reached the bank. Her body, trembling violently, collapsed onto the snow, gasping, shivering uncontrollably as if seized by an invisible force. The snow beneath her, though cold, felt almost miraculously warm compared to the river's icy clutches. She lay there for a long moment, too utterly exhausted to move, every muscle screaming in protest. The only sounds were the relentless shriek of the wind, a mournful lament across the frozen land, and the faint, almost inaudible shivers from Anya, a tiny, fragile sound that broke through the roar of the storm. The blizzard continued its furious, blinding dance, but she was out of the water, a small, triumphant yet fragile victory against the overwhelming, indifferent odds of the Alaskan winter. The snow continued to fall, relentlessly, silently, burying Ilara and Anya deeper beneath its soft, cold blanket. Ilara's mind was a swirling fog of exhaustion, hypothermia, and a creeping despair, but her arms remained locked around her baby, a vice of primal protection. She pulled Anya even closer, trying to share what little body heat she had left, to transfer any warmth from her own rapidly chilling core to her daughter. Anya's breathing was shallow, barely perceptible, a faint whisper against the roar of the wind, and the fever still raged, an internal fire against the external ice. Ilara pressed her cheek against Anya's forehead, feeling the unnatural heat, a stark and terrifying contrast to her own freezing skin. A profound, soul-crushing sense of helplessness washed over her. She had survived the river, a miracle in itself. But what now? They were stranded in the middle of a vast, unforgiving wilderness, miles from any known settlement, utterly alone. She tried to move, to crawl further into the sparse, skeletal shelter of the spruce trees, but her muscles, stiff and unresponsive, refused to obey. Her limbs felt like blocks of ice, heavy, unresponsive, and alien. Despair, a cold and creeping tide, threatened to overwhelm her completely, to pull her under as surely as the river had tried to. She closed her eyes, trying to conjure the vivid image of Canoe, his strong hands, his reassuring smile, the warmth of his presence. The memory, though fleeting, brought a fresh wave of grief. A silent sob caught in her frozen throat, a pain sharper than the cold. Was he alive? Had he, by some impossible miracle, made it to shore? The blizzard had swallowed him whole, leaving her with only the crushing silence of the Alaskan winter and the chilling echo of her own fear. As the hours dragged on, each one an eternity, Ilara drifted into a fitful, dream-like state. Images of her Yupik village flickered in her mind. The warmth of communal fires, the familiar faces of her kin, the comforting aroma of smoked fish and sealskin, tantalizingly close, yet utterly out of reach. She murmured soft words to Anya, words of comfort, words of love, clinging to the desperate hope that her voice, even a whisper, might somehow penetrate the veil of illness and reach her tiny daughter. The blizzard showed no signs of abating, continuing its relentless assault, and the world outside her small, freezing cocoon became an abstract canvas of blinding white and oppressive grey. All that mattered, all that held her to life, was the small, precious, shivering life she held so tightly. Remember to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the upcoming chapters of this incredible story of survival and resilience. Days later, what felt like an eternity, the blizzard finally began to subside, its furious energy spent. It left behind an unbroken, pristine blanket of glistening white snow, stretching endlessly in every direction. The air, though still bitterly cold, was eerily still, the previous cacophony of the storm replaced by a profound, almost unsettling silence. Ilara lay motionless, a snow-covered mound, barely distinguishable from the natural drifts around her, a part of the frozen landscape. Anya, miraculously, was still faintly breathing, a testament to the warmth of her mother's desperate, unwavering embrace and the insulating furs that had somehow remained clutched to them. Ilara herself was on the absolute brink, her life force barely clinging to her body, a flickering ember against the vast cold. Miles away, a small hunting party from the distant village of Nushagak was out tracking caribou. Leading them was old Chief Akuluk, a man whose face was a roadmap of the harsh Alaskan wilderness, his eyes narrowed by years of squinting against the snow and sun, always scanning the horizon for the slightest sign of life or anomaly. He was a man deeply attuned to the nuanced whispers of the land, to the subtle shifts in wind and snow that signaled danger or opportunity, a master of survival. As they traversed a particularly remote stretch of frozen riverbank, his experienced eye, honed by decades of observation, caught something unusual, a slight, unnatural indentation in the newly fallen snow. Not quite a natural drift, a shape that whispered of disturbance. He stopped abruptly, raising a hand to signal his companions, a silent command that was instantly obeyed. "Something's not right here," he rumbled, his voice low, barely audible above the crunch of their snowshoes. His men, seasoned hunters themselves, their senses equally sharpened by the demands of the land, followed his gaze. There, partially obscured by a small snowdrift, was a faint, irregular shape. Curiosity, mixed with a deep-seated sense of caution and a foreboding intuition, urged them forward. As they approached, the shape became clearer, more defined. It was the unmistakable outline of a human form, partially buried, and clutched within its frozen embrace, something small and bundled. A collective gasp, a sound of profound shock and awe, rippled through the hunting party. Chief Akaluk knelt beside the snow-covered figure, his weathered brow furrowed with a complex mixture of shock, pity, and profound wonder. Gently, with the practiced, careful hands of one accustomed to delicate tasks, he brushed away the accumulating snow, revealing the pale, frozen face of a young woman. Her eyes were closed, her lips a stark blue against her pale skin, and her skin bore the mottled, telltale signs of severe frostbite, a testament to her ordeal. Yet what truly stunned them, what made them momentarily forget the biting cold, was what she held. Bundled tightly in a fur wrap, pressed against her chest with an almost death-like grip, was an infant. The baby, too, was incredibly cold, almost unnervingly still, but a faint, almost imperceptible wisp of breath escaped its lips, a tiny cloud in the frigid air. "By the spirits," one of the younger hunters whispered, his voice hushed with a reverence that bordered on fear, "she's alive, and the child." Akaluk, a man who had seen much hardship and extraordinary resilience in his long, arduous life, felt a lump form in his throat. He recognized the distinct pattern of the woman's parka. It was Yupik, but not from their immediate region, perhaps from a distant inland village. This was a family from further upriver, undoubtedly lost in the recent brutal blizzard. The sight of the mother's desperate, unyielding grip on her child, even in the throes of profound hypothermia and unconsciousness, was a powerful, unspoken testament to the unbreakable, fierce bond of motherhood. He knew instinctively that this was no ordinary survival. This was a miracle, a story that would be whispered around campfires for generations. They carefully, meticulously, began to free Ilara and Anya from their icy prison. Each movement was deliberate, gentle, for fear of causing further harm to their frozen, fragile bodies. Akaluk, taking charge with the natural authority of a leader, issued commands, his voice firm but compassionate. "We must get them back to the village quickly. They need warmth, and they need it now. Every moment counts." The hunters, their faces etched with grim determination, understood the profound urgency of his words. They had found a living miracle, a beacon of hope in the vast, desolate heart of the Alaskan wilderness, a testament to life's stubborn persistence. Back in Nushagak, the small, tightly knit community rallied around the two survivors with a swift, unspoken unity born of centuries of shared hardship. Ilara and Anya were brought into Chief Akaluk's lodge, the warmest and largest in the village, a central hub of warmth and communal life. The women, with their vast, inherited knowledge of traditional healing practices and remedies, immediately set to work. They carefully removed Ilara's frozen, sodden clothing, gently rubbing her limbs with warm furs, trying to coax life and circulation back into her numbed extremities. Anya was handled with even greater delicacy, her tiny body so fragile, so vulnerable, her breathing so shallow it was barely a whisper. They knew the fine line between life and death for an infant in such conditions. For days, it was a harrowing, agonizing battle for their very lives. Ilara drifted in and out of consciousness, her body racked with tremors, her breath coming in ragged, painful gasps. She suffered from severe frostbite, her skin already blistering in places, and the risk of infection, a common killer in the harsh north, was terrifyingly high. Anya's fever persisted, a stubbornly burning ember in her small body, but the constant warmth and the careful, loving attention of the village women seemed to give her a fighting chance, a thread to cling to. They fed her small, painstaking sips of nutrient-rich broth, rubbed her tiny limbs with warmed, soothing oils, and kept her bundled close to the central fire, the heart of the lodge. During moments of fleeting lucidity, Ilara would whisper Canoe's name, a raw, pained sound that ripped from her throat, a mournful cry that echoed the depths of her grief. The villagers, though strangers, understood the unspoken language of loss. They spoke in hushed tones, their faces reflecting a shared sorrow, sharing what little food they had, offering silent prayers and ancient Yupik chants for the woman and her child, invoking the spirits of their ancestors for healing. The entire community held its collective breath, witnessing this fragile, heartbreaking dance between life and death. The air in the lodge was thick with the comforting scent of wood smoke, the subtle aroma of healing herbs, and the quiet, desperate, yet unwavering hope that permeated every corner. This is a story of incredible strength and the powerful, enduring spirit of human connection. If you're moved by Ilara's journey, please subscribe to our channel and join our community. Slowly, agonizingly, with a progress measured in imperceptible increments, Ilara began to mend. The fever, which had gripped her so fiercely, finally broke, the shivering subsided, and a faint flush of color, a sign of returning life, returned to her blue-tinged lips. One morning, she awoke with a clarity she hadn't felt since before the blizzard, a sharp awareness that cut through the lingering fog. The profound warmth of the firs cocooning her, the comforting scent of burning wood, and the low murmur of unfamiliar voices around her brought a strange, almost disorienting sense of comfort. Her eyes, still weak and blurry, slowly scanned the unfamiliar surroundings. She was in a large communal lodge filled with people she didn't know, their faces etched with a profound yet gentle concern. Then, through the haze, she saw her. In the arms of an elderly woman, small and perfectly swaddled, was Anya. A sharp, involuntary gasp escaped Ilara's lips, a mix of overwhelming relief and pure, unadulterated disbelief. Anya was alive, weak, incredibly fragile, but undeniably alive. Tears, hot and uncontrollable, streamed down Ilara's face, washing away the lingering cold and the deep, crushing fear that had encased her for so long. The elderly woman, Chief Akuluk's wife, her face kind and weathered, gently brought Anya closer. Ilara reached out a trembling, weak hand, her fingers tracing the soft curve of her daughter's cheek, feeling the faint warmth that was a living miracle. The sheer, impossible reality of it overwhelmed her, a wave of emotion that almost swept her away. But with this joyous awakening came the crushing, immediate weight of memory. Kenai. He was not here. He was not among the kind, unfamiliar faces that surrounded her, offering silent comfort. The realization hit her with the brutal force of another icy wave, a fresh, raw wound tearing through the fragile peace. The profound joy of Anya's survival was immediately tempered, almost drowned, by the deep, agonizing sorrow of her husband's probable death, a loss that now felt even more real in her newfound consciousness. The Nushagak people, sensing her grief with an intuitive empathy, offered quiet words of comfort, their eyes filled with understanding, their faces mirroring her pain. Ilara was alive, Anya was alive, but a part of her heart, a vital piece of her soul, had been left behind in the frozen, unforgiving depths of the river. Weeks turned into months, each passing day a slow, deliberate step on the arduous path to healing. Ilara, though physically recovering, carried the heavy, persistent burden of her loss, a constant ache in her chest. The Nushagak people, particularly Chief Akuluk and his wise wife, became her surrogate family, embracing her with a warmth and acceptance that transcended tribal boundaries. They taught her their customs, shared their traditional Yupik food and knowledge, and offered unwavering emotional support, understanding that true healing was a journey, not a destination. Anya remarkably thrived under their collective care, her cries growing stronger, her tiny hands reaching out for her mother with increasing frequency and strength, a living testament to their kindness. The bond between mother and child, forged in the crucible of the blizzard and tempered by shared survival, grew even deeper, a silent language of love and resilience. Ilara, despite her profound grief, found a quiet strength in the resilience and communal spirit of the Nushagak community. She learned to fish in their traditional ways, to prepare hides with their meticulous techniques, and to navigate the vast, frozen landscape with their ancient wisdom, sensing the subtle shifts in wind and snow. She watched the women weave intricate baskets from cured grass, their fingers moving with practiced grace, and listened to the elders tell captivating stories of their ancestors, epic tales of survival, bravery, and profound connection to the land. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the raw, jagged edges of her pain began to soften, to round out, replaced by a quiet sense of purpose. She found meaning in caring for Anya, in learning the ways of this new place, in contributing to the life of the village that had so miraculously saved them both. The memory of Kenai remained, a poignant, bittersweet ache in her heart, a constant echo in her quiet moments, but it no longer consumed her. She spoke of him often to Anya, telling her stories of his strength, his kindness, his boundless love, ensuring his spirit lived on through their daughter. She knew she would never truly forget him, nor did she wish to, but she also knew with a deepening certainty that she had to live, truly live for Anya, and for the extraordinary life that had been so miraculously granted to them both. The Alaskan winter, once a symbol of death and despair, now represented a powerful testament to her endurance, her fortitude, and the enduring transformative power of human connection and community. As spring approached, slowly thawing the river and awakening the vast, slumbering land from its long winter slumber, Ilara stood on the banks of the Yukon Kuskokwim, Anya bundled securely and contentedly on her back. The immense frozen expanse of the river had finally broken, revealing the vast, swirling, life-giving waters beneath, a symbol of renewal. It was a place that held both unimaginable pain, the sight of her near demise and Kenai's last moments, and the incredible profound gift of survival and rebirth. The Nushagak community stood behind her, a silent, supportive testament to their unwavering kindness and enduring solidarity. Chief Akuluk approached her, his wise, aged face kind and knowing. "The river always gives back," he said, his voice soft, resonating with the wisdom of generations. "Sometimes what it takes, sometimes what it blesses." Ilara nodded, understanding the profound depth of his words, their ancient truth. She had lost so much, a grief that would forever be a part of her, but she had also gained an unexpected new family, a renewed sense of purpose, and the incredible, boundless joy of watching her daughter, a beacon of hope, grow strong and vibrant. Ilara knew her journey was far from over. She would carry the visible scars of the blizzard, etched onto her skin, and the invisible ones, deeper within her soul. But she would also carry the profound lessons learned, the immense, almost unbelievable power of a mother's love, the indomitable resilience of the human spirit, and the transformative, selfless kindness of strangers who became kin. She looked out at the vast, awakening landscape, the sun glinting off the thawing river, casting long, hopeful shadows. The path ahead was uncertain, as all life paths are, but she faced it with a quiet, unwavering strength, holding Anya close, her heart open, ready to embrace whatever the new horizon held for them. The Alaskan wilderness, once a formidable, almost insurmountable foe, had become, ironically, the very backdrop for her extraordinary, enduring tale of survival and profound rebirth. Thank you for joining us on Ilara's remarkable journey. If you were moved by this story of resilience, hope, and the incredible strength of the human spirit, please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next compelling narrative.